Fierce intellect and love of country, she embodies all the best qualities of a Trojan. Fight on. Our USC family couldn't be more proud of her exemplary career and willingness to give back. I would now ask you to turn your attention to the screens in front of you for a short video about this year's recipient.
I was actually born, as it turns out, just a few blocks from SC. So, of course, I was drawn to the university. Military brat, father was in the Air Force, bounced all around. I wanted to grow up to be just like my dad. And so being able to learn more about the Air Force at Southern Cal really let me know in my heart that I had that propensity to serve. I had an ROTC scholarship for engineering, and that's how I became involved in engineering.
For a woman to graduate from particularly a discipline like electrical engineering, particularly an African-American woman, it was not very common.
After about the first year, my ROTC instructor said, "Have you ever thought about flying airplanes?" So now I was going to get an engineering degree and then go on active duty as a pilot. Before I went to pilot training, I met someone who said, "Hey Stacy, you should go to a Tuskegee Airmen Convention before you go to pilot training." And I was like, you can actually meet them. This is amazing. And so when I did, that's when you really realize this is much greater than myself. They worked hard to pave the way for someone who looks like me. From that moment on, I was dedicating my career to the Tuskegee Airmen.
I think that's what drives her history as well as the future. She's standing on the shoulders of individuals who've come before her. She knows there's many more barriers to be broken.
I was on active duty for 8 years and then in the Air Force Reserve for 26. I got a phone call from the then current Chief of Staff of the Air Force for me to come back on active duty, be promoted for a 3rd star, and assume another role. And I was just like, wow. Even though you didn't know this opportunity was going to come about, you have been preparing all your career for a role like this.
We're extremely proud of Stacy, the highest ranking African-American woman in the Air Force.
She is not only the first, but the way she carries herself, the way she represents being the first. This person, this Lieutenant General, this commercial airline pilot, this is what every young lady should aspire to be.
Every day I wake up in the morning and I see myself and I know who I am. And I know what my mission is, and that's what I charge forward to do. The fact that I'm the first presents an opportunity for me and for me to bring up others through mentoring to be able to achieve the same goals.
What July Harris is able to do better than any other senior leader I've seen in the Air Force is put people together and help to forge the friendships that will allow their careers to go on.
You want everyone to be successful, and so that has always been my goal.
The core of her is not forgetting where she came from. She always wanted to bring those people and honor those people that supported her and got her to where she was. The Tuskegee Airmen, I've seen her next to them, proud, they pinned her.
When my father passed, they said, "That's okay, baby, we're your daddies now." And they have been. And for my 3-star pinning, I still remember, I'm crouching down a little bit because they're just a little bit smaller than I am, to have a wasp on one side and a Tuskegee Airman on the other pin my 3rd stars, and it was my tribute to their legacy for paving the way.
It is now my pleasure and honor and privilege to introduce this year's recipient of the Mark A. Stevens Award, Lieutenant General Stacy D. Harris.
Well, good evening, everyone. President Nikias, Dean Yortsos, Trustee Viterbi, I'm so deeply humbled and honored to be
receiving this award from my Trojan Viterbi family. And what's so wonderful about this is that USC and the military have something in common, and that's family. And in the military, you join for a number of reasons, whether it's the propensity to serve, whether you had friends or family that are in the military, or it's just the events of the day that inspire you. What keeps you in the military is that sense of community and family and wanting to take care of each other. And that's what the military and USC have in common. Because I've always felt, when you hear Trojan, the next word is family, all the time. So, for instance, my first job after I graduated from USC was not with the Air Force, it was actually with Hughes Aircraft. And that's because a Viterbi graduate interviewed and hired me to be an engineer, knowing that in 9 months I would be going into the Air Force. But he had enough faith and in me as an individual and knowing the quality of the education I had received at USC, that he says, you know what, I want to keep you employed for the next 9 months. You know, you're an engineering grad, you're a Viterbi grad, I'm going to hire you, and he did. So I knew very early on what it meant to have a Trojan family. And then Dean Yortzos, I just want to commend you again for your commitment to diversity and inclusion, because that just further increases our Trojan Viterbi family. So if I may just give a shout out to my dear friends that are here. Thank you for allowing me to host a party. Very often, and when I do, to be able to see so many of my friends just makes me so very happy. So for my Viterbi family, specifically Susan Toller, thank you so much. It was so wonderful having you as a role model and someone to look up to. Air Force Det 60, Lieutenant Colonel Nelson's here, who's the Professor of Aerospace Studies. Thank you for the great work that you did, and I so enjoyed having lunch with the cadets today and all those that have served or are continuing to serve in the military. Thank you for your service. Black Alumni Affairs, Michelle Turner, you are phenomenal. Thank you for just continuing, yes, continuing the work that you do to connect alumni academically through mentoring and then culturally through events throughout the year. Of course, my sorority sisters of Delta Sigma Theta. My airline partners that are here, Judy and Mario and Monica and Rich, thank you so much. Many that are members or actually have public service organizations or foundations. My Rotary family, Rotary Club of Los Angeles. Thank you so much. So just very briefly, when you're a pilot, you're sequestered behind a reinforced door. You can't really engage with the passengers. And when you're a military person, you're sequestered behind a fence. You can't really engage with the general public. But when I was invited to join Rotary, that enabled me to really become part of Los Angeles and perform service and just have a whole bunch of fun, so I thank you so much. And then lastly, of course, my heroes, the Tuskegee Airmen. Once again, I've dedicated my career to you. You have paved the way for so many of us, regardless of gender or race, to become the greatest nation that we are. And I just thank you so much for paving the way. Once again, thank you to my children.
It is now my personal honor and privilege to introduce this